Hello and welcome in, Bingo fans, to this very unscripted and probably barely edited quick introduction video for the new Bingo goals for this year's tournament and also some new client changes that come through with it. First of all, I have to give a small disclaimer though, because this version is not approved for leaderboard runs yet, so you cannot do a PB on this and submit it to the boards at the moment. That might change at some point in the future, but for now it is not tested enough in like a leaderboard kind of scenario, so we don't really know if it would be fair to put this on the boards or if it's gonna get its own board or whatever is gonna happen. Just know that if you play on this client and with this Bingo version, the 4.5, you will not be allowed to submit it to the leaderboards. But apart from that, I have put a link to the new client and to the correct Bingo version on the GitHub in the video description, so you can basically start playing right away after watching this video. So let's start introducing the new things this client has to offer, which aren't many, but it is a couple of very vital ones. In general, this client is still based on the original version made by Max G a couple years ago, so shoutouts to him again for that. But we've changed a couple of things, and here I have to say big shoutouts to Mark for doing that within a day and just absolutely nailing all of the changes that we wanted. So thanks to both of them for making us this year's Bingo tournament client. But what exactly are the changes? First one might honestly be the biggest change and most likely a little bit confusing for seasoned Bingo runners, because completing the Slytherin common room now warps you to the correct spot in the story. It used to put you back into the dungeons next to the entrance of the common room, but now with the changed version it puts you right where you should spawn on your way to Spongify. The second change to introduce is a big overhaul of the entire buying system. People kinda complain about dueling being awful and buying goals were really unpopular because grinding beans just isn't that fun, and then there's also RNG involved. So now we've decided to set all bronze and silver card purchases to a set value, 120 beans per bronze card and 200 beans per silver card. So the vendors will always sell cards, as long as they're available and you've been to the levels before, for this exact value. We've also introduced a decrease in beans for both the broom and the armor, going down to 500 beans for the broom and 300 beans for the armor. So hopefully this makes dueling a little bit less painful and the grind a little bit less bad. And then one final change to introduce with this new client is the challenge goal times have been put onto the timer in the top. This was mainly introduced because of a new goal where the goal times matter for, and it's kind of just for newer players that don't have them memorized yet, so it's an easier way for them to check if they have actually beaten the goal time in their playthrough. But let's head over to the more interesting part. New, changed, and removed Bingo goals. And we can go through the removed ones very quickly. Last tournament we've already removed Get on Top of Hagrid's Hut, Tickle the Pigs at Hagrid's Hut, and Enter Forest from Out of Bounds, because those goals were just kind of unfair for people because it depended on your loads. So if you had a quicker PC, you could get them before your opponent even had a chance. So let's get to the changes of this year, and I want to once again shout out some people for helping me with it. Because when I initially came up with those changes, I asked Luzak, Beaver, and Mark for advice and opinions on if they're good changes, or if I should rather not do them. And they really helped me a lot with deciding on the full goal set and all the values and everything at the end of the day. So big shoutouts once again to all of those three for making this happen. So first of all, I decided to remove a couple more goals that were just generally unliked, awful to count, or would just have really OP synergies with other newly added goals. So we start with the goal of having 1000 beans to not make dueling too OP. All ground secrets in both day and night, kind of an awful goal that people just hated. Jump on 25 Spongify tiles was a goal that was just so awful to count and keep track of. Defeating X Bowtruckles, I don't remember the full values, is removed because of two new goals that were introduced. Same goes for Complete Slytherin, and then Cast at 16 to 21 unique gargoyles as a goal that really wasn't that popular, and even though you think it has a lot of synergies, it really doesn't. Most of the time it's just Goyle. There was a couple of other unpopular goals that I didn't think should be fully removed, but we did adjust them a little bit to make them more bearable. The first one is about the gnomes in the girls' bathroom, which is a cool goal in general, but 12 to 15 is just a little bit too much, so we've reduced the number to only 4 to 7 gnomes from the toilet. There's the change that we've already discussed with making everything you buy, bronze, silver cards, armor and broomstick, cheaper, so it's less of a bean grind. And then we have 2 more goals in Diffindo, which is just such a long challenge. So instead of requiring all Diffindo secrets, it is now between 8 and 10 secrets, and instead of requiring all cards, it's now only 6 wizard cards in Diffindo. But now we're getting into the interesting parts, the new goals. And we start off with one that was already teased in the client changes, which is beat the goal time in 2 different spell challenges. People that do a lot of 100% should be familiar with them. The basic way to get that is just collect all 10 stars and finish the level as quickly as you can. Even though I think you can make it in 9 stars in Rictus Sempra. The next goal we can look at is collect 16 beans around the tall tree in forest, which is this area that we're in right now, and it is those beans on the Spongify tile. It's a pretty quick but also pretty fun goal that should just be an interesting addition. We have Complete Slytherin without jumping, replacing Complete Slytherin, just the normal goal. This one is basically the same as Complete Slytherin, but it has a pretty tricky boost that you can go for at the bridge skip, or you just go up and repair the bridge like a pleb. We have another goal that's a replacement goal, which is cut off 15 to 20 tentacular heads in the game, and also collect 11 to 15 unique Wiggenweld bark. Kind of felt like splitting those up makes it more fun and not just Bowtruckles every time, so those goals are in. Bowtruckles are out. Then we have a couple of goals for the all chests enjoyers, because there were 3 level that had a couple too little goals to my liking, Chamber, Scourge and Bicorn. So we added individual goals to open a couple of chests in those level. Should be pretty quick and easy, and another good reason to learn where all the chests are. Getting back to the more interesting goals, there is one cauldron in the hospital wing, which is honestly always forgotten about, like nobody ever really uses it. So we made it a goal, use the potion cauldron in hospital wing, a pretty quick one and a nice filler, another good reason to go up there apart from just secrets and cards. Another new addition is win 2 to 4 Quidditch matches. People usually enjoy the Quidditch goals for their versatility. You can really route them in pretty freely whenever you feel like it. And actually winning the matches instead of just being knocked out gives it a new and interesting spin. Should be a cool goal. And I mentioned one thing earlier, Bicorn being a level that has way too few goals. Or rather had. Because we all love Bicorn and we would really like to see it more often in Bingo, so I've added 2 new goals to this level. The first one is pretty standard and obvious, which is collect all 6 cards in Bicorn. But the second one is throw 3 gnomes into the same hole in Bicorn. And that one is a lot more tricky, but a pretty fun goal. All of the Jumblers and Lowcast enjoyers will probably already know where this is going, but you basically have to get those 2 gnomes through almost the entire rest of the level until you get them to this gnome hole where you can throw them in. And you gotta be a bit careful that you don't hit this awful trigger that just makes them disappear. And with that, we're now almost at the end of our new goals for the tournament. We have one thing about our fan favorite chocolate frogs that people love from the Frog Snail strat in Diffindo. We have eat 5 to 8 chocolate frogs, a pretty cool goal that can be done in almost every level, and it should be a pretty nice filler for in between when you're doing some goals. The same cannot be said for knock over 4 to 6 decanters. They're not in that many level, but they're kinda cool, and you know, we just wanted to do something with them. They're useless, so they need to have a new use in Bingo. So I think, long story short, that's all the new goals, that's all the changes. Have fun experimenting with those, have fun doing lockout races to prepare, and of course triple bingos to prepare for the seeding. Thank you so much for your attention in this quick little tutorial, and have a good rest of your day.